Hey, what's going on, traders? Going 3 for 7 today. Yet another red day. 4 out of our last 7 days have been red. Just a big ouchie. I can't really seem to get anything going here, but the one plus is that it's yet another small red day. Could have been a little bit bigger, which we will get into. So let's just jump right into this. We'll start with our first trade, which was on Geo, which actually was a nice start. Previous resistance from Friday down here at 829. Nice pop up through 850. It got up to 867. We got short at 864. Came down, retested that 850 area, and we took it off. Just looking for that 850 retest. And that was a nice one. Nice little starter win. Our next trade, which was the fun one, was on CCJ. You can see previous resistance from Friday down here, 2732. If you look at the daily, you can see that it had come down a little bit from those highs in the pre-market there from Friday. But if we zoom in here, you're going to see this was a 1 1 1 1 4. But essentially it was a 1 1 2 that was split into 2 and then a 4. So we started this thing with 30 shares. We were obviously just looking for this to come back down towards that 2732. Didn't quite get there. Came all the way up through 28. We got an add, which put our average rate at 28. And this kind of felt like it was going to be the top. So I didn't want to get a full add here just in case we were wrong. But I didn't want to miss the ad because we were looking for up through 70 for the ad, but it only got the 67. So as it was coming down, we hit it for another one at 44. So wanted to get some size. This brought our average up to like 28.17, I think it was. And as it went back up towards 81, we did end up getting the other half of that too. So 30, 30, 60, just split in the two at 69. So basically it gave it to us around like a little over 50 was our combined average for this two ads. So 112 at this point decides to not be the top, makes actually a decent move here. And so we actually end up doubling our size because 30, 30, 30, 30, that's 120. We hit it for another 120, which was 4 of the original position. So like I said, 1124. And we finally start to get the pullback. It gets to 80. And our average at this point, I think, is 74, I think. I'm not exactly sure. But I remember taking these first shares off for a loss. So wasn't too happy about that. Maybe it was 71 because I think it was $13 realized. I'm not exactly sure. You can, I can always go back and check later. But so it continues down after it attempts to bounce a little bit. You can see it came down to 80 and then started to bounce. It got up to 88 on that bounce. And then it started to come back down lower. It gets down to 57. We actually cover another 70 at this point just to get to an even number. At 28.59, or actually that was half because we had 240, took 100 off, and then we just took half. And then I was looking for the other 70 to continue all the way down to at least 28. However, it decides to go back up. Basically tell myself, I was a little mad at myself for this ad. I should have waited possibly for the break of this candle and the reclaim of getting under 29. And I didn't. I basically just assumed saying, hey, I'm going to add into this and stop out at high of day if it gets there. Which wasn't the right thing to do. It worked out, but it wasn't the right thing to do because I got the ad at 29 where I could have got basically the same ad had I waited for it to come back down through this, which would have been 29.96. So around, I would have got like 5 cent difference there, but I was looking for the much bigger move regardless. So that 5 cents shouldn't have mattered. And I wouldn't have possibly, like if this would have went straight to high of day after that, that would have not been cool because then I would have ended up losing out on that extra amount that I didn't have to. Had I just waited for what was the backside of this little lower high, could have just it wouldn't have been a better entry in this case, but it would have been a more safe entry. And it would have made a little bit more sense. So it starts to come down, gets to 72. We take some off at 78 when it starts to bounce back up, starts to move its way back down, starts to bounce off VWAP. Basically tell myself this is the second time it's using VWAP as a bounce. Basically, if it breaks that previous pivot point, which I was just using the previous candle's high, I'm going to jump out. So I did. You can see it did try to go higher. Ultimately, never really came back down and went all the way up to the highs. And it's been pretty much up there since. It went to the highs, came back down to the same area, and then has been hovering higher ever since. So we were down, I think, at the highs. If for some reason this pulled back, we didn't get anything off, and then it went back to the highs and stopped us out at the highs here, full size, 240 shares. We were down like $175, something like that. So it wasn't even that bad. But to come back, I was really, really hoping we still had these 70 shares here with a good average. We were up here near 68, I think it was. So if we get any kind of a nice move down towards 28 or even below, we're looking at a nice win. And that's what I was going for. I was risking the small loss that we ended up taking, looking for the bigger win, having gone through all this. And sure, I could have probably been a little bit more patient here, but I wasn't about to let this come all the way down on a nice little move, only to bounce and let all of it go back up to the highs. Because I did give it like 3 or 4 chances to keep going lower, and you could just feel it hitting that 80 support. And then it started to rise up, and that's when I took it off. Basically saying, I was essentially going to add back had it did that. That was the plan, but then it continued to drop right after that. So it just kind of played out the way that it did. Ended up basically a scratch trade, small loss, and we move on. So next trade was Tau, which was actually our big loser today. We lost on this 3 times. If we scroll out, you can see previous day's highs, which was Friday, 604. Makes a nice little move on not that much volume, but basically just looking for some kind of pullback. And we just never got it, just never pulled back. I was green on this several different times in all 3 trades. I was green on it right off the bat here, didn't take anything off, it spiked back up. We actually added looking for this to be a fake out breakout, but I was wrong. So I ended up cutting that at the highs, seeing if this wanted to go higher. It did not look like that was a fake out breakout. So we jumped back in for that to be the fake out breakout. And as you can see, it temporarily worked and then ultimately came back up. I was only risking the top of these candles because there was a seller just sitting there. And I figured if that broke, it was going to go back to the highs, which it did, but it didn't get through. And then as you can see, it goes sideways again. And I'm like, okay, it's coming back down to the same area. I'm going to jump back in. And I was only risking the top of this candle here. And as you can see, I was pretty confident that this might work. I added another 100 shares. There was 100, looking for that area to hold. It does not. It goes back up to the highs again, as you can see. Sorry, I just got to draw a line so I can see. So I got the 65.5 that time. 60, what was this one here? 63 only there. And then these were both 66. So it never quite got back through the highs. But as you can see, it's just been going pretty much sideways this entire day. So it clearly turned into not what I was looking for. Had I had still been in this, would have been looking for more than the 640 anyways. I was looking for closer down to like 625 for some take profit. So, I mean, sure, it would have been, like $20 or whatever had we got to here and taken it all off. But the odds are we only take half off, looking for the other half to come down to 620. So it still ends up being a red trade overall. But the fact that we lost on it 3 times, it kind of sucked. But sometimes it just happens. Sometimes they just don't want to pull back. Our next trade was on CFVI. This one was pretty standard. Nice little pop up through previous resistance of intraday 1084, gets up to 1120. Wasn't a great move, so I only took small size, as you can see, via the realized. Took it off, and as you can see, this thing's been pretty much grinding higher all day. Dash, this was a volume out of nowhere. Just took it real small as well. I think we only took 5 shares of this. Just kind of looking for the full point. Took some small shares once I felt the jiggle, started to come down, just put an order out about $1 underneath, and we got it. And then right after that, Charlie came over and said that there was no news or anything like that. So this thing actually ended up giving the entire move back. So wish I would have heard that a little bit sooner, because maybe I would have pulled my order and saw if we could get a little bit more out of it. But that's all I got. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Always appreciate the support. If you do have any questions or comments, feel free to leave those down below, or you can find me in Discord or over on Twitter. Those links are also down below. Don't forget that like button. It means a lot to me and the channel, helps it grow. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.